Our next drawing is the coffee cup, and you can see here I've borrowed the image from the website and brought it in, put it on my references layer, so I just have something to look at. And then I've named my coffee cup layer and my coffee cup artboard so that they're coordinated. You can see them both there. And what I'd like to do this time is to work with guides. I haven't done a whole lot with guides. I'm going to turn on my grid just to help me kind of get started here. And so what I'm going to try to do is just kind of try to draw the basic outline of this cup with an ellipse, and then another like a half ellipse here, and then an ellipse around this, another ellipse with an ellipse inside of it. And kind of thinking ahead, I'll make this a compound path so it's see-through, and we can see that little area right there minus the line right here. Okay, so I'm going to try to do that for you on this video. Okay, here's the artboard. Remember, you can zoom in on your artboard by just clicking on the number, and there you go. You can zoom back out so I can see my reference. Command 0, Command plus, like we've been doing most of the semester. I'll just start with a ellipse here, and I'm just going to try to kind of sketch this in this way. Not that cool. I want the regular old ellipse here. There we go. And I'll use my option so it kind of draws out from the middle until I get sort of a rough looking similar to this top ellipse here. Now for the cup shape underneath, so a lot of different ways you could do that. I think I'm just going to go straight to the pen tool, and I'll just deselect and go to my outline view so I can still see what I'm doing here. And I'll just make a little click right here, being careful not to click on the anchor point of that other shape. And then I'm just going to come down here, just eyeballing it, click and drag to the right. A lot of times if you'll add the shift key here, it's a more satisfying kind of a curve. You can see that really beautiful curve there when I do that. Then I'm going to come back up here and not really trying to get exactly on the other shape, but I'll just click, and a lot of times after you've done the pull on this side, this one kind of falls right into place, and that's what happened there. I didn't need to use the shift key or anything there, it just finished that out. Alright, now I'm going to do the bottom here for the saucer, and for this I'm just going to kind of guess and then modify it. I'm going to start maybe right about here, click. Now you got to be careful when you're using the pen tool, you got to remember to deselect. So let me get back to my ellipse here, and I'm just going to click, hold the option key, and then you can see I'm kind of well off my position. I'm going to use my finger over here on the space bar until I get an ellipse that's a little closer to where I want it. Okay, so that looks pretty close. Maybe need a little wider. Okay, I'm just doing the eye-hand coordination thing that we've been doing for all these weeks here, using these examples from the website. Right, now I also need an ellipse for this, and I'll do an ellipse for that. So I'll grab my ellipse again, and I'll try to anticipate where the center of this circle might be, which I'm going to guess is right about in here. So I'll just click right here and then hold the ellipse, or hold the option key down, and try to get it so it matches in. Now you can reposition by touching the space bar, then let go of the space bar to kind of finish out the shape. And I think that looks pretty close. So now I've got, I don't know what caused that zoom there, but there you go. Alright, and then you can see there's another curve right here. I'm just going to borrow the center of this one and draw another ellipse, again with the option key down, and I'll try to get it so that it looks like it's about where it needs to be as well. Okay, now if we take all of those and look at them in preview, you can maybe see there that the shapes are in there with the guide behind. The grid is in there behind. You can see them in outline view, and then in preview they look like this. We want to take these two objects and make them into a compound object. The reason is I'd like for this to be see-through right here. I like to be able to see right through there. If you look in preview right now, it's filled with you can see how it's filled with a color, the white. Okay. All right. So I want to make sure that I can see through that. I select those two, go to Object, Compound Path, and Make. And now you can see, maybe if I zoom in here, how you can kind of see through that little area right there. We're going to need that when we finish up our coffee cup. All right, so I've got the compound shape here, I've got a shape there, I've got a shape there, and I've got a shape there. I'm going to use these for now. I'm just going to select them. I'm going to make them into a guide. There's a shortcut for this. It's under View, Guides, and Make Guides. You can see it right there. It's Command 5. So I'm just going to press Command 5, and my guides are available to me now when I press Command semicolon. That's some information that we looked at way back at the beginning of the class. Command semicolon turns the guides off and on. Command apostrophe turns the grid off and on. Those are two keys that are right next to each other, just to the left of the return key on your keyboard. Okay, so now I've got just something I can go by. Now the bottom of my cup maybe is a little different than this one, as I notice here, but I think I'll just press on. Okay, what I want to do next is I'm just going to use the pen tool and make these irregular or non-uniform stroke thicknesses. And we've done this before, where you can just draw a regular stroke and then make it skinny on the ends. And so that's what I'm going to do next. I'm using my guides here just to help me follow along here. Right? So I'm going to make sure I've got black as my stroke. And I'm going to keep in mind that I need the black arrow to select in order to have these options up. If I switch to the white arrow, I lose those. But we'll just flip back and forth using them as we need. Okay, looking at this, you can see it starts here, kind of starts here, and then it just curves over to here. Okay, and so I'm just going to go ahead and make that right now. I'm going to click right about here, just a simple click. Then at the top of the apex of that ellipse, I'm going to click and drag. Hold my shift key down again. A lot of times, that if you want to make that really beautiful curve, the shift key just helps you make that complete. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click right on my guide. And you can see how that formed the rest of that shape there. Now, right now it's got a white fill that I don't need, and so I'm going to fix all that up. I'm going to select with by selecting with the black arrow, the selection tool. You can turn the fill off. You can adjust your stroke right up here so that you have a non-uniform stroke. It says width profile number 1. And I'm just going to fatten it up, and you'll see the stroke do that skinny, thick, skinny kind of a look there. You just get it until you think it's good. Remember, you can just keep adjusting that until you get it just perfect. All right. Turn off the grid. You can see what it looks like without the grid. Turn off the guide. You can see what I've got without the guide. Command semicolon for the guide. I don't really think I need the grid right now, so I'll just leave that off. Okay, zooming in once with Command plus, I'll go back to my pen. Now it should do fine here with the stroke and no fill. And so I'm just going to start again here with a click. And then I'll come around to the bottom. Click and drag. Hold the shift key. A lot of times you'll discover that shift key can really help you make it look really pretty. Okay. And then I'll come back around to maybe about right here and just click. And you can see that I'm off just a bit. No problem. Switch to your direct selection tool. You can pull that handle back in. Again, as you hold the shift, you can get it so it looks really close to the angle that you drew before. All right. Black arrow is the one that will give us these options up here, so I'm going to turn that back on as I changed back to that width profile number 1, and I'll just add my stroke in here like this. And you can see how that looks quite a bit like the example that we're trying to follow here. Alright, okay, check it out. Turn it back on, turn it back off. You can add other anchor points if you need to. If you feel like it's not really curving the way you want, remember you can add your pen tool and add other curves to it later if you feel like you want to. Okay, but I'm just going to proceed here. Turn my guides back on. There we go. And I'll do maybe this curve right here next. Back to the pen tool. Got the black stroke. I'm just going to click right here. Does just a simple click. Come down to about right here. Click and drag. And this time I'm just doing it without the benefit of the shift key, simply because it's a pretty simple one to do. I'm going to reselect it with the selection tool. Again, switch to that width profile, and you can see how I can just fatten that up and make it look quite a bit like the example on our website here. Now this one's quite a bit different, but I'm going to start it the same way. I'm going to just go back to my pen tool, deselect, so I don't accidentally continue that shape, and I'm going to click right about here, click, and then I'm going to come over to right about here, and I'll maybe click and drag. Okay. And then I've got one more shape up here, one more click to make, and if this one doesn't look quite right, that's okay. Just switch back to your white arrow and you can bring that handle down and get that curve to match in pretty well. There we go. You want to select that with your selection tool so that you get these options up here. Change that profile, fatten it up a bit, and you can see it's kind of pretty close, but we need to add some shadow on this side. Now this is where the width tool will help you, and we used the width tool once before. I'm just going to go to the width tool. It's that crazy little tool that right there, Shift W for the width tool, and I'm going to zoom in just so we can see this a little bit better right here. Width tool looks like that. It's got the little black arrow, but it's got the little squiggly sort of S below it, and it works like this. I'm just going to go up to this anchor point. Now you can put this anywhere along here, but I'm just going to go up here to the position where we had the anchor point, and I'm just going to, if you look really close at that, you can see it provides an extra couple of handles here. Okay, that's how the width tool works. And there's you can add, let's see, intersect. Okay, this is the actual anchor tool. This is an extra handle along that path. And so I think I'll come up here because it looks like this needs to be wide right here. So I'm going to come up to this top one. I'm just going to, with the width tool, I'm going to click and pull it out. And you can see it's not exactly what I had in mind. Okay, undo that. Try it again. This time, click and then add the Option key, and it'll pull it to just one side of the line there. I've got an extra one here that I can also adjust, and I'll click here with the Option key down, and I can get that to kind of widen up like this. And you can make that. You can actually move that along the path if you click on the original place where you started, and you can. And so I just move that up a little bit, broaden this out, and you can see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make it look kind of like it does in the example. Okay, so that's how you can make this variable width line along this path. Okay, trying to do that right there. Okay, I'll just zoom back out, and got to click away from the width tool. Once you get started with it, it doesn't want to give up. It keeps trying to work. Now, without the width tool, I can still select that path. I can select it with my direct selection tool. You can see I've still got anchor points. I can still change the bend and do other things to it and move the anchor point and adjust that angle. It's still there for me to work with. It's just that we've given it a variable width using that width tool. Now there's a little curve right here that's pretty easy to do. I'll just come in here with the pen tool and I'll click and then click and drag. Just remember the drag gives you that bend. Select it so that I can change the profile and make it look a little bit more like the drawing. Just like any other path that you've drawn, it's still adjustable. If you feel like you need to make it longer or change the curve, you can. Okay. And there's what it looks like without the grid, or without the guides. I'm just going to bring this one up so it kind of touches right there. That looks a little better. All right, good. All right, let's continue with this. We want to do this angle and this one, and so we're going to need the guides back on so we can see how that works. I want to do this big one next that goes all the way around. And with the pen tool, it kind of works like this. Remember how we looked at ellipses before? They have anchor points in the corners. I'm going to start here because it's not quite connected. Then I'm going to come down to the far left, click, and I'm going to hold my shift key down as I make that first curve. Then when I come to the middle here, still with the shift key down, oops, didn't mean to put it there. Click, then hold the shift, and you can make it match that guide pretty close. Okay, then let up with your shift. Click over here right on that edge, then add the shift, and then you can make a final little click right here. You should be able to match that in pretty well with your pen tool. Okay, I'm going to select it just like we've been doing. Fatten it up till it looks about right. Okay, all right. All right, I notice I'm running into about a 17-minute deal here, so I'm just going to stop and then we'll start again with the second part of this.